Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is another episode of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you for a little bit of week 4 global power ranking action. Not crazy movements across the board. Obviously, a lot of squads, at least in the LTA and LEC, were not on the Rift, but luckily for us, most of them are not within the top 10. So.
Yeah, when the LPL and the LCK picks up the pace and makes sure that the games still are going on, still seeing a lot of these top squads in action. When you take a breather, the way the LTA and the LEC recently have, partly due to Riot and Valorant existing, and partly due to some bad scheduling and decision-making made on the parts of these, but we dive into it. Nonetheless, the summer split keeps moving on, and yes, what is that on the horizon? A week, 2 weeks away? It's September, and it is playoff time, so we better be getting ready.
Yeah, and, both the LCK and LPL are going to have this play-in format to their massive playoff brackets, and that's kind of where you're looking towards at the bottom of this table. A little flip-flop between Ninjas in Pajamas, who are obviously dominating that rise or lower tier group in the LPL, and JDG, who continue to kind of get beat up from the top dogs in the LPL. And right now, current forms, I know it's not going to be NIP as the top seed matching up against JDG, but if you threw these two together, I'm not favoring JDG in that matchup.
This is the LPL flavor of D plus Kia and KT Rolster. It's kind of understanding, one squad in that upper area obviously struggling to build momentum, gain traction against these top tier teams within their region. And then on the flip side, you got someone picking up these wins, and actually almost even more impressive than D plus, I think, the way that NIP has really taken care of their business down in that lower bracket of the LPL in comparison to some ups and downs, some roller coaster type of moments for D plus Kia themselves within the LCK's Rise or lower group. I can't even remember exactly the full name.
I think Rise is LCK. I don't even remember what the LPL one is.
Yeah. But I think when you're looking at this one, it is that NIP has done almost everything you could and to improve and impress in that lower bracket. It is about seeing against higher competition, and can you make that train keep moving throughout playoffs?
And yeah, you can have the argument what lower tier group is more difficult, LPL or LCK. There's arguments for both, but I think the case in point is D plus and NIP probably a similar level right now. Even though D plus has still had some messy moments, you've seen the potential, and that's why I'm so curious to see them match up, even against squads like Nongshim or KT, to really see where this team is at power level rise.
Specifically because it's been so long, I think, since you have seen them tested against one of those top ones, and that's either, one of these pro cons of the formatting changes that we have seen across the major regions, and specifically in the LCK, that has led to that type of thing where, the test is, can you do it against T1? Can you do it against Hanwha Life? Can you do it against a Gen G, right? And can you prove that you are of that tier? And you're not going to be able to do that, frankly, just given the competition, given who you face on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis here in that lower half of the LCK.
And it's similar over in the LTA. We'll see some punishments later. But movement for Cloud9 and Shopify both obviously didn't play. So it's kind of just, readjusting based on getting them a little closer after that head-to-head that Shopify got. And you'll see Fnatic and Koi both drop down a bit too. Koi is playing Vitality as we're filming this. So obviously winning or more so losing that series would have a bigger impact than winning on them on this list.
Yeah, there's certainly a swing downwards if it is that loss that comes through for Movistar Koi. Of course, dealing with the hurdles, that is Monday, Tuesday action for the LEC, as we mentioned before that. But I like checking in on Cloud9 and Shopify Rebellion. Of course, two teams that are getting, passed down, knocked down a little bit in this one due to that inaction going on. But I think that it is one of those ones where kind of it's going to be one or the other at this point is going to hang around in this tier. It's going to be either Cloud9 keeps climbing up, keeps reestablishing themselves and showing that it was a hiccup type of moment and that they are going to regroup. When it is that chips are down, you have to have it type of moment. Or it's going to be that we're talking about Shopify Rebellion finally starting to climb that mountain and building and delivering on some of the potential that we thought and commented that could be scratched on the surface here for this team in the LTA.
Both FlyQuest and Shopify 4-0 haven't lost the split. Just saying. Shopify in the exact same conversation as FlyQuest. They've obviously never matched up, and FlyQuest still going to be huge favorites in that one. But the more important reason why you see some of these LTA and LEC teams moving a little bit is because, number one, Weibo continues to be kind of the gatekeeper in the LPL, where they can be competitive against those upper echelon, but maybe not quite have the firepower to finish. And even more so is KT climbing up 4 spots this week. And that, of course, is the direct result of not just a 2-0 against T1, but a 2-0 stomp.
And I mean, some of the performances in that stomp against T1 are the type of ones that you are running to the bank saying, I hope we've got our sure thing, our lottery ticket right here, because of the way that the rest of the squad was able to play around BDD. That's the big difference, I think, in this one as opposed to any other random victory or anything else like that. Seeing the performance of Perfect on the day into T1, the rest of the squad, and how they were able to support around and really play around the power that BDD has been able to showcase this entire year, never mind this split in the form that he has been in. So I'm really happy to see KT around here, but it's still going to be, are you for real, or was that just a pretend? Was that the fairy tale Cinderella type moment for you, and all of a sudden you're back to the pumpkin carriage? I don't know. That's really going to be the question when we see with KT when they go up against, again, just another couple days away until they hit out on the rift against what will be a Hanwha Life, a Gen G, this time around again before they finish out these until playoffs.
And it's an equal question that can be applied to T1 that we'll get to later is, was that just a bad day? Is this a more overarching theme heading into playoffs? A little bit of the summer slump that T1 is infamous for. Usually it's not 1 week before playoffs. It's more middle of the pack that this happens. So something to monitor as we go forward. And then Carmine Corp closes out this list, same spot as they were last week. Again, they finished up already. Losing to Vitality kind of made this group and their now matchup against Movistar Koi a whole lot more interesting.
They're just doing it for the plot, right? They're just moving along
Smart.
the storyline.
Got to bump the viewership in the LEC,
No problems with me on that regard, but I think, again, they're going to be one of these squads that talking about them really is going to be serious when it is these playoff matches, when it is about showing that it is this, best of 5, best of type of territory, that you have that edge, you have that those teeth to be damage dealers on that international stage. That's what I'm wanting to see more of this Carmine Corp as we look towards these playoffs in the LEC.
Just ahead of KC, and yet again the highest ranking European squad is G2 eSports, who did have some matches this week, and they probably could have been an email in that matchup against SK, because these were not even crazy games. Like, usually G2 has some chaotic games that they're stomping, but these were kind of low and slow, but G2 was fully in control from start to finish. And I don't know, I know it's been a lot of weaker matchups, save for the Fnatic one, but it feels like G2's a little angry that we've all been talking about Carmine Corp and Movistar Koi throughout the year, trying to head into playoffs and kind of reassert themselves as the kings of Europe.
And if that's what it takes, sure, I'll take it. But man, oh man, seeing the way that this region really has shifted, I think, within that last year and a half, as far as where that power is, what the expectations are, and how much of it you are at the top of, or not even at the top of anymore in the LEC. Yeah, I think this G2 roster should be a little bit angry, and playing with that type of fire is what you want to see. I think this was more so about, a team that we are known for, slinging out fast smash food burgers type of thing. All of a sudden, flipping on the slow cook smoker going on, roasting the meat and everything like that, and then delivering that type of a dish this weekend is how I feel. Still a delicious meal, delicious meats cooked over here by G2, but taking their time with it, I felt was more so what we saw this weekend than anything else.
And maybe that's been their plan all year long. They're building up to the final form. It's a mega crock pot for them to really level up and have things ready to close out this summer split. Just ahead of them is FlyQuest, bumped down a peg, and obviously FlyQuest didn't play. We still feel great about them. It's more watching their region, the losers bracket, kick things off. I felt like you had to go, oh man, this is the same region. This is playoffs. I know it's every team is in this playoff bracket, but it's just the LTA. It's hard to compete against the top 8 for FlyQuest when this is the region they're in.
They're so close. They are so close to that area, and they're just being dragged down by both ankles now by the rest of the region. It seems like it becomes harder and harder to make those arguments, to convince yourself that you will see that level of performance from them, knowing what you are challenged with, what you are tested and practiced against for so much of the year, in comparison to that ramp up, comparison to that practice that you do get with the international exposure coming in for the international events. It's hard for this FlyQuest squad, and especially given having extra days, extra week here between these games, it is hard to carry that momentum of belief for this squad due to the LTA.
And I mean, if you're international or other teams, even watching FlyQuest VODs, you're probably sitting there going, oh yeah, they look pretty good. But what's this other team doing? Like, who are they matching? What are they doing?
What's a dig? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, not a very good.
And Dig, they're like the same team. It's so similar. But playoffs, what they do against Shopify, and FlyQuest still haven't not only dropped a series, they haven't dropped a single game yet here in Split 3. So we'll see if they can keep that trend. But yeah, CFO beating GAM in pretty convincing fashion is enough to kind of bump them back into that 8 spot, and they're already sitting with a bye in the first round, ready to get playoffs going for LCP.
I think at the end of the day, I don't care where you are ranking within the top 10, the Flying Oysters. I just care you're ranking them in the top 10, because there is no way you're having them outside in this type of territory. And you know that they are going to be a factor at the international event, regardless of all this outside noise, belief about all these things, whatever. This is a squad that has been battle tested, battle proven, and is going to be there when it counts, when they step on the international stage.
And I know it's been a whirlwind of a season. There was a slow start for AL coming back from MSI. But how about, we're into week 7 now of Split 3 of the LPL. And BLG and AL are not only not the highest 2 LPL teams, but still outside of the top 5. And that's even with, I think, both of us feeling pretty good about both of them.
I am feeling really good about both of these squads, where I think they both have shown more so of that energy, more so of that ferocity that you wanted, at the MSI event. This is more so what I think you had hoped from both of these teams in the form that they can show. I think Anyone's Legend a little bit less so, more so about getting them back up to form, back up to speed to where they were in the LPL before MSI. And for BLG, getting, kind of sorting things out, still figuring out exactly everything going on in the jungle. I'm just putting my hands up at this point when it comes to that for BLG, but all I know is that the results are coming through, and that it is the nexus on the other side going down for BLG.
And still feel like both these teams have runway to level up and be the top 2 squads when we do fully roll into those LPL playoffs. Maybe the hardest squad within the top 10, definitely within the top 5 to rank, is Hanwha Life, who get knocked down a peg this week, and they far and away have the worst record in Split 3 of all these teams. They're 500, 5-5, and most recently needed a close, hard-fought 3-game set against KT Rolster, which obviously was actually signs of them probably leveling up, and then going to Game 3 against Gen G, where they proceed to get pretty convincingly stomped in that one. So Hanwha Life, even though they're higher than BLG and AL, because it's hard to grade going up against T1 and Gen G so much, I might actually be feeling a little better about BLG and AL than HLE right now.
I think pretty much this week is going to be a big test or big tell for the Hanwha Life that we are going to see in playoffs. And that is, of course, where it is really much more important for this squad to really show that they can be one of the top tier teams, that they are elite within the LCK, and have this answer for these teams, these top tier teams that they are going up against so often within this top tier of the LCK. Having the answer against a Genji, having the answer against a T1, which yes, T1 this week on the schedule for Hanwha Life, very much so is going to be the important factors that we're checking in with them and seeing where their power level is heading into these playoff matches, because it has to get better, and it has to turn around into something more complete because of what territory you are occupying within this top 5 and the type of teams that we are seeing right now, whether you believe in them or not. And I'm talking about frankly, a top esports or T1 at this point. It's the conversation on whether you truly do believe in them. I think the scales of believing them is on a very different territory when you are talking about T1 and top esports, but still some questions after this last week regarding T1, and I think top esports carrying over questions due to the past international failures.
Yeah, and for Hanwha this week, I do feel like that T1 matchup is probably the most important match of the week. T1 has both Hanwha and Genji on the docket, by the way, to close things out, but I'm a guy who fully believes in momentum heading into playoffs. T1's about the only team who you can ignore that because they just turn things on for playoff. But Hanwha, if they lose again to T1, you're basically 0-6. You're 0-6 against T1 and Genji heading into these high-stakes playoff matches. I can't imagine you're feeling Omega confident knowing that you're going to match up against one or both of these heading into playoffs. So if they can at least get one win against T1 to kind of get that monkey off their back, it's going to be huge.
I hated being at broadcasting school and being told that momentum wasn't a real thing. Don't talk about it because it's not actually, the physical, sensation of what momentum is. There is momentum in these sports and in team sports type of atmospheres, and especially when you're talking about results and results against teams that are rivals, that you have this extra motivation for. And there's no question that on both sides of that still exists, I think, for T1, for Hanwha Life. Even if you remove Zeus and you just go after the target of what T1 is in the LCK, that will be there. So very much so looking into the momentum that either one of these squads can bring themselves through, and that's either Hanwha Life's momentum swinging upwards for playoffs, or is that going to be a T1 where the momentum is continuing to swing downwards after this fall against KT Rolster? I think that is where there's obviously going to be so many eyeballs, so much attention to this matchup this week.
And there's been, listen, the reason BLG and AL are outside of this top 5 are still feeling good is because a squad like IG continues to frankly surprise the levels that they're at as they get another bump into the number 4 spot on this list. They actually, despite playing one less series, they have the least losses in the LPL, which is maybe the craziest thing because we're so used to IG, even against teams worse than them, needing 3 games, having a bad game, being back and forth. But now they're just consistently winning, and all of a sudden Gala has the highest kills per game among all AD carries, not just in the LPL but worldwide in this summer split, and you're seeing consistency from top to bottom on this team.
I'm seeing all the signs that are giving me all the check marks that you needed to verify this project going on in the LPL, that it was going to matter, that it is going to be a factor when we're talking on the international stage, when you're talking about being a champion of the region. They are at that very forefront, and it is a lot of those reasons that you wanted it to be for this team. It's Rookie playing that role in the mid lane and being that leader for the squad. The Shy starting to show up and make these incredible turnaround type of plays in the top side for the team. And yes, Gala showing that he's got the skills to be some of the best, if not the best hands in the region in that role. So I think that this has certainly been a long time coming, and one that had its doubts, had its questions, and still I think does need to prove itself against the very tippity top of teams. But so far, so good in this LPL summer split for an IG gearing up for Worlds.
Still not enough to knock TES out of that top spot in the LPL, even though they needed a Game 3 against World Elite. That just gave us the opportunity for Kanavi to cook up something. He said the Zed is cool, but other people are picking the Zed. Give me that Kiana in Game 3, and I'll give you the game-winning ulti.
I don't know how you can hate this team. I'm sure there's some degree of the international failures thrown in there, but man, oh man, seeing Kanavi do what he is able to do on what this roster is and how they function, it really is something special. Getting to see him go out there, getting to see him have his champion picks like the Zed, like the Kiana that comes through, and getting to dip dance on it, which I mean, frankly, I think that's been a crazy one that Kiana hasn't really been in the meta as much as she should, I think, been, given what she gives, what she offers on the pro stage, and especially in the hands of skilled and creative players like Kanavi.
Yeah, and she's, been such a stable meta pick in years past in both mid and jungle, obviously. So we'll see if that ends up being a pick that comes around during Worlds. T1, despite getting pumped by KT, as we've alluded to, they still hold on to that 2 spot. They're still 8-2 on this split. And more recently, it's really been Doran's the guy we've been highlighting on this squad.
And that has been kind of the crazy thing, and it's not about anyone underperforming or not living up to it, but it has been more so about Doran rising to that occasion, rising to the moment within these matches for T1 to deliver some big plays. All that obviously is sweeping the KT series under the rug and understanding or assuming that it is underperformance, lack of preparation, a misstep, a stumble, whatever type of label to throw on it for the day. You moved on from it type of one as T1. And I think that's where the eyes towards the series against Hanwha Life and Gen G this week is going to go a long way to understanding whether, yes, it is that simple mistake, simple, stumble on a pebble, or was this actually the dagger in the heel that is going to bring you down?
The Gen G side of things, I'm out of adjectives, I'm out of words for this squad. But now we're at the point where even if they bow out a disappointing end in playoffs, I still might have them as the top team heading to Worlds.
If it's so good, how could you not? And I mean, it's one of these ones where, again, you're right, you run out of exactly flattery words to throw at them and showcase and exactly tell the story of how fantastic, how dominant they have been. But man, oh man, what a team to watch. What a team to keep an eye on heading towards this World Championship. And you're right. Oh, outside of probably the most miraculous self-implosion type of stumble, you'd have to have faith in this team, or at least this iteration that they have shown you this year, moving to that World Championship.
Even if it might be better for them if they lose in summer, to kind of take some pressure off and say, now people are doubting us. Now's when we can finally get that first elusive World Championship. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you.